Welcome to the K-Files. JP and myself are going to be with you for the next hour. Good morning, JP.
Good morning, Miss Sandra. How are you?
As always, I'm good, and as always, I'm glad to have you here. Talking about the weather this morning, it's nippy, and we're going to have bad weather again tomorrow.
We got like 3 inches in Middlesex.
Oh.
And I've got a metal building, relatively new metal building in the backyard, about 2-3 years old, and it blew some metal roofing off my building, and it's not one thing, it's something else all the time.
Yeah.
But we had some really high winds.
Oh, yeah,
really
we did.
high winds.
And, men, my husband said, it's not going to do anything. I said, well, you might need to tie some, of our porch, our table and chairs. They're heavy, but I said, they're going to, it's not going to do that much. He always says that, even when they forecast snow. It's not going to do anything. I said, well, I don't care if it is or not. Get our generator ready. Get ready. He said, golly day. He acts like, and then the wind starts blowing, the chairs turn over. I said, oh boy, I love it when I'm right.
And it's coming back tomorrow.
Yeah.
It blew all the furniture around the pool, blew it across, the road and other people's yard. I mean, it was a lot of high winds.
Yeah,
a lot of high winds.
It really was. I don't like wind.
No.
I really don't, because I don't like power to go out. I do not like, nobody does, I know, but I cannot stand power outage because, I like what I like, my conveniences. So, anyway, so we have some cases, some kind of hot and now cases this morning, and don't forget the drill, folks. We have up to $15,000 in the pot that we can pay you cash money.
And this case right here actually has an additional $10,000 reward from the victim.
Oh, wow.
And this is a Warrenton home invasion. Home invasion located Arcola in Warrenton around 9:00 p.m. Saturday night. 2 black men, one tall, one shorter, wearing all black masks. Robbed this gentleman and his girlfriend at gunpoint. They're offering a $10,000 cash reward for anyone that can provide any leads that would make an arrest. And I'm sure that Team Cold Case, something like that, would have additional funds available. But that's $10,000 cash reward, home invasion in the Arcola area of Warrenton.
Wow.
Home invasion.
Home invasion, it's just a worst nightmare that you just, everybody is terrified of that happening, and it would just be the worst. I stopped cars on the side of the interstate for almost 30 years. It didn't really bother me, okay? I always had my guard up. We were prepared. My biggest fear, and I've said it on this show 100 times, my biggest fear is a home invasion. Upstairs, cooking on the stove, taking a shower, watching TV in the recliner, and boom, somebody's coming in your home. Absolutely.
1 or 2 or 3 or a gang.
Yes.
You stop and think about how many cases we talk about here that it unfolded from a home invasion. Look at the barber from just outside of Nashville. I mean, we've talked about that case numerous times. We've talked about the cases on 97 coming into Rocky. They almost always, when you find somebody at home deceased, almost always stemmed from a home invasion.
Yes. Well, we have talked about quite a few over the last few years on this show, and so it does happen, folks. It does happen. So, do you think the houses are targeted for a few weeks before this happens, or sometimes do they just say, okay, let's just get that house?
I think it's twofold. I think sometimes it's retribution where somebody is a specific target. Like, I'm not going to say it's gang specific, but someone is specific targeted as a vendetta or getting back at someone. The other one is a crime of opportunity. Kids, young adults, whatever, riding around, and you might see an elderly subject raking leaves in his yard. It gets their attention. Next thing you know, every time they ride by, they take note of, is there one car in the yard or two?
Right.
Does the car ever move? Do you only see an elderly man or an elderly woman in that yard? Next
Right.
thing you know, unbeknownst to the victim, they have made themselves a target.
Or like the quadruple murder up at Halifax. I mean, they, probably knew that the guy had cash and guns, and, they may know what you have.
And what I learned on the highway patrol is your neighbors keep up with you more than you think. My
I can
neighbors kept up with me as to when I went to work, when I come home, my days off. They knew how many days I'd have off in a month. So your neighbors keep up with you. So does the bad guy riding back and forth in front of your home.
Right,
So do the bad people who live in your community. They keep up with you.
right.
That's why I tell people all the time, they're like, I don't get an opportunity to see my mom, my dad. I call them. Look, don't call them. Get in your car and go see your uncle. Go see your grandmother. Go see your mom and dad. Put a car in that driveway so that the people who are watching them,
Yep,
it stays mixed up.
yes.
They can't be
That's
put on a
good.
timeline, and because, like I say, people are watching.
Exactly. I believe that. Okay, I'll let you continue.
I did have another one. I think this might have been a Halifax County case, but no, it's actually a Rocky Mount case. Rocky Mount is kind of pushing it. It is an unsolved homicide from 7/12/2019, 1132 Long Avenue, Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Daquan Dickens was 18 when he was shot and killed around 1 a.m. July the 12th, 2019, at a home of a family member at 1132 Long Avenue in Rocky Mount. His family called him Newt. Daquan was at home with family having a birthday party after finishing his shift at a local Burger King.
Oh, I remember that case.
18 people, including babies, were in the house when bullets started flying through the windows. Rocky Mount police responded after a shot spotter activation. According to witnesses, the party itself was not a drive-by shooting. Someone stood in front of the house and fired multiple shots into the home. So it wasn't an actual drive-by.
Wow.
Someone took the time to get out of the vehicle or be outside and literally target this home,
They
target this
knew
party.
somebody in that house.
Yes.
They knew somebody in that house. That was not random. I mean, it was targeted, no doubt, in my mind.
And again, this
Who was
is
killed? Just one?
just one.
Just
According to
one.
this,
That's
just
amazing
one.
that just one was killed.
And
That was bad
it's
enough.
Up to $15,000 reward for this, 252-406-6736. And this wasn't that long ago, July 12th, 2019.
Yeah.
1132 Long Avenue. Please, if you know something, share the information that you know and get paid up to $15,000 for the tip that you could, you could offer, you could share with law enforcement.
And don't forget, it is anonymous, folks. I mean, call the hotline, 406-6736. Call Rocky Mount. Call the Twin County Crime Stoppers. There it is right there, 977-1111. Call somebody if you know anything, because somebody knows something. 18 people were in that house. 18. That's a lot of people. Somebody knows who, more than likely, done this. And if you even think somebody done it, you need to let the authorities know who you suspect. I mean, always don't just say, no tip is too small. Don't just say, well, they're not going to want to know because I'm not sure. That's okay. Give them the name. Give them the name. It gives them a starting place. So.
And technology plays a key role now in helping solve crimes. I don't know if I had told you this, but like down in the southern end of the county, Freddie, my cousin Freddie, who's running for county commissioner, he had about 50 signs stolen or vandalized New Year's Day. And everybody was like, well, it's kind of in the county, it's the edge of town, what have you. And I said, look, there's cameras on the fire department. And they're like, oh my God. We pull the video, and we're able to see that the truck that's involved makes a left-hand turn going into Middlesex. We're able to follow that to a local convenience store that we're able to get more pictures from.
Wow.
And from his direction of travel, we saw him turn to another store who had better camera. Next thing you know, we've got cameras, excellent pictures, a lot of evidence of suspect vehicle, committing this type of crime. But just like a home invasion, just like a B&E, folks, if you're out here perpetrating crime, I want you to know you're going to get caught. There's so many homes now, so many businesses that have excellent cameras.
People are brave today.
They are.
Because there are cameras everywhere. I mean,
Everywhere.
why would you even attempt something?
Yep.
And embarrassingly, if you're pulling up signs,
And I'm going to go ahead and tell you,
hey,
Nash County Sheriff's Office is involved as of yesterday. Middlesex Police Department's involved. Some crystal clear photographs of the truck and the people involved.
oh,
And I'm here to tell you right now, it's about to be an embarrassing situation.
I was going to say, yeah.
It is.
Well, you're not supposed to pull up political signs, folks. You just really are not. You're not supposed to pull up anybody's signs, even though I want to sometimes.
Yeah.
Because some of these businesses go a little overboard and put down their signs. But political signs are a little different. They do have the right to have the signs up, and it's not your property. It is not your property, and it is not your business to be pulling them up. So, like you said,
If you see a sign you don't like, look, put one in your own yard to protest the signs that you don't. That's the way I feel about it.
You can do that.
Okay?
You can put their opposition in your yard
Exactly.
anytime you want to. That's your
You
property,
don't
your
have
sign.
a legal right to get out and put your hands on an opponent's campaign sign and
That's
pull it
right.
up just because you happen to be rooting for a different team.
Yeah.
It's a criminal act, and based on the number of signs that you damage or you steal, it can become a felony.
That's right. That's exactly right. Well, we got to go to break, and we'll be right back on the Cave Files right after this. Okay, welcome back. And, we had a response. I forgot to mention that. We had a response from our show this week. A lady called me, and we're going to be talking about her case next week. Next Thursday, we'll get prepared to talk about the quadruple murder in Wilson.
Okay.
She is the mother of her daughter was one of the ones killed in that home, and she was, and maybe we'll look it up at next break. She says there's some wrong information in the book.
Right.
She has the book, and she kind of follows along with us on the show. I mean, I think that's interesting.
Yes.
But anyway, that's the first time I've had somebody tell me that. But on the next break, we will find that case, and I'll tell you what she says is wrong, and maybe we can talk about it more in detail. Maybe we can find out. I doubt it, because it's Wilson. And I explained this to her. I said, I'm sorry, but Wilson does not cooperate with Tim Cole case as far as the Sheriff's Department too much. So I just have to put that out there, because we have tried to reach out so many times and have gotten no response. And we do want to thank Halifax, Nash, Edgecombe, Rocky Mount. I mean, they're all very diligent in answering any questions that we have. So anyway, we wish Wilson would join us in that. But anyway, we'll go ahead and start on a case, and then we'll maybe jump to this case at the next break.
This case here is from September 4th, 2009. Alton Lee Harper, who was 57 years old at the time, was staying at his daughter's boyfriend's residence at 4817 Great Myrtle Street in Brattleboro when his daughter heard breaking glass. When she investigated the sound, she found an unknown suspect had entered the home and was pointing a gun at her father, demanding money. The daughter complied with the robber and gave him an undisclosed amount of money. She reported that her father left the residence and attempted to follow the suspect, who had fled on foot. She then called police around 1 a.m. The victim returned to the residence as police were interviewing his daughter. The report described the victim as being very excited, breathing heavily, and further stated that it was difficult to understand the responses to the officer's questions. The victim was heard to yell out loudly and fall on the floor in the kitchen area of the residence. Resuscitation was initiated by police. Nash County EMS arrived around 1:25 a.m. to find the victim unresponsive with no vital signs. Resuscitation was unsuccessful and death was pronounced at 2:29 a.m. The patient experienced severe cardiovascular stress initiated by the criminal episode which he had witnessed in the home invasion by the armed intruder who threatened him and his daughter with death to accomplish a robbery. His death has been ruled a homicide, and it is under
Very
the
interesting.
felony rule. That's it's murder.
Well, you know what? It is
It is
murder.
murder.
Because would you be in that shape if this had not happened? No, you would have probably been sitting in your home watching TV.
Minding his own business.
Yes.
And the home invasion, what we were just speaking about earlier. I mean,
It'll scare you to death.
it will.
Literally
It will.
scare you to death. There you go. Terrible.
1 o'clock in the morning.
Golly.
And if you don't think, look, this past week, midnight, sitting in my recliner Monday night, around 1 o'clock a.m., my dogs started barking, and my dogs have a different bark when it's somebody outside. Pulled up the camera on my phone, and there was a car that had pulled up to my shop and turned their headlights off. Interior light come on, which tells me they're opening the door.
Oh, gosh.
And I'm telling you, if my dogs could have got in that car, they'd eat them alive. I threw on some slippers, grabbed my gun, walked outside, and it was a young man who was on drugs. And he's like, "Hey, how are you doing?" I said, "Fine, can I help you?" He's like, "I was riding by, saw a light on you in your shop. I was just going to stop and visit." I said, "Do you know me?" He said, "No." I said, "I'm going to give you some advice. You need to go back to wherever you come from. Don't come back over here."
Golly.
And he's like, "Why are you coming at me like this?" I said, "Son, you don't make visits to people's home at 12 o'clock at night.
You're
1
on my
o'clock in the
property at
that's-"
midnight.
I said, "You need to leave." He said, "Have you got a gun?" I said, "Yes." I said, "What are you going to do with the gun?" I said, "Anything I need to. You need to leave." But he left without incident, thank God. But these people who are on drugs, they're not thinking clearly.
No.
But he saw a shop, he saw a light on, and I think he was up to no good until the dogs alerted me,
Right.
and I had to go out and confront him. People say, "Why didn't you call 911?" I mean, when you are the law, you typically don't call 911 to call the law.
Right. Why
But,
didn't you just let the dogs out?
Oh, believe me, they stay out.
Why didn't you let the dogs get in?
They almost did. They almost did.
Oh,
But
my
anyway, I mean,
goodness.
people like that, they're not thinking clearly and don't put anything past them.
Right.
Don't put anything past them.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a case, interesting case, where, nothing physical was actually done by the perpetrator.
He just
or the
insinuated.
suspect. But just insinuating it caused, cardiac arrest.
Terrible.
So it is terrible. If you know anything about Alton Lee Harper and who, the death of Alton Lee Harper and who might have done this, on September 4th, 2009, please come forward. Please call the number on the line, on the phone, on the TV. Please call the number and help us out. We need your help. And law enforcement says all the time, you are their best resource. So please help. Okay.
This next case, we've talked about a few times, Jermaine Lynch. This case is from September the 8th, 2009. Around 11:08 p.m., Rocky Mount Police Department was dispatched to a shooting at the corner of Tom's Trail and Travis Run in Rocky Mount. When law enforcement arrived, they found Jermaine Lynch suffering from a gunshot wound. During the investigation, they determined that the shooting stemmed from a robbery. The suspects were 4 to 6 black males, one male between 45 to 50 years old with a thin build and a thin grayish beard. The suspects tried to rob Jermaine as he was next to a van. He was shot and then ran from the scene to where he was found by law enforcement.
Wow.
September 8th, 2009, 11:08 p.m.
Thomas Trail and Travis Run. I don't know where that's at in Rocky, but it's in Rocky Mount, and somebody knows where it's at. Somebody knows who did it. So if you know anything, who shot Jermaine Lynch, if you know, please come forward.
Brian Dominic Mitchell. This case is from March 25th, 2010. Officers responded to the 500 block of Fairview Avenue Southwest in Wilson, North Carolina, to a shooting. Brian Mitchell was standing in a lawn when a drive-by shooting took place. Witnesses who saw the shooting put Mitchell in their car and transported him to Wilson Medical Center, where he was later pronounced dead. Brian Dominic Mitchell, March 25th, 2010, shot and killed at the 500 block of Fairview Avenue Southwest in Wilson.
He was just standing on the lawn.
Yeah, just standing there.
Drive-by shooting.
Tony Wilkins. This case is from June the 30th, 2010. Around 9:10 a.m., Rocky Mount Police was called when a neighbor had heard a gunshot coming from 520 Cascade Avenue, Apartment D in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. When they arrived, they found Tony Wilkins, 41, laying on the floor in his apartment between the living room and the kitchen. A neighbor saw someone go to the door just earlier, and Wilkins let that person in. Moments later, the neighbor heard a gunshot. Not only did the suspect shoot Wilkins 2 times in the face and head, but the suspect took a knife and stuck it in the back of Wilkins' neck. The knife was still in the neck when police arrived. This insinuates that the person was mad at Wilkins to not only shoot him, but to stab him as well.
Right.
June 30th, 2010, 9:10 in the morning, 520 Cascade Avenue, Apartment D, Rocky Mount. Tony Wilkins, 41.
And he let him in the house.
Yeah. So that lets you know he knew his
He knew
assailant.
it because he let him in. But apparently the guy was not happy with him. If you know anything about this, Tony Wilkins, June 30th, 2010, Cascade Avenue.
And you can say what you want to. If you've got that kind of drama or beef with somebody in your life, your family and friends probably are aware of it.
Yes, that's exactly right. Put a knife right in his back. And the knife was still in his neck when the police arrived. Goodness. Well, he was very mad. He was very mad at Tony Wilkins, that's for sure. But still no reason to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take our break. We'll be right back with you right after this. Okay, and welcome back. Well, we're going to, we have had, as I said, someone contact us, a family member of one of the cases in Wilson. And when you contact us, we will bring the case back up. So we appreciate her contacting us. Tammy Pierce, it's a quadruple murder. Tammy Pierce, Selby Outland, Paul Pierce, and Nicole Privet. We don't have a whole lot of information. And as we said, you know, we haven't been able to get information out of Wilson County. You know, a lot of times law enforcement doesn't want to give a lot because it is under investigation. It really is. So anyway, I'm going to let you read what we do have.
Okay. This case is from December 24th, Christmas Eve 2016. The case involving Tammy Pierce, Shelby Outland, Paul Pierce, and Nicole Privet. Police responded to what we have in the book, a welfare check on Banks Lane in Wilson. Upon arrival, they found that all four had been shot and killed inside the residence. Christmas Eve 2016, 4 killed inside the home, Banks Lane in Wilson.
Tammy Pierce's mother contacted us and said, this is a quote from her, this was not a welfare check. She said, I went to the house because it was Christmas Eve and they were all invited to my house that night, and so she went there for some reason, to tell them something about the get-together.
Mm-hmm.
That was going to be at her house. She said, we got together every year on Christmas Eve, of course, as families do. And she said, I went over there to tell them something about that, and this is what I found. So if that's the case, then that is not a welfare check.
Right.
If that's the case, she is correct. So I don't know how it ended up a welfare check. But anyway, she wanted to correct that information as a firsthand, this is firsthand, her going to her daughter's house just to tell her something, and the rest of the people there that were invited to her home for Christmas Eve to tell them something, and this is what she found. So Christmas Eve of 2016, and I know somebody knows something about this case. As we said earlier, probably more than one suspect.
And Banks Lane, I believe that's off of 42. If you're leaving Wilson, going towards Pine Tops, cross over 301, and it's down on your right, like you're going to old Cherry's Barbecue. There on the right, Banks Lane, just outside of Wilson city limits.
Well, the mother is very upset. And every Christmas Eve, as we've talked about so many times, she's going to relive this. And she relives it every day. But on holidays, it's going to be worse. So if somebody could please give some closure to this lady, the mother of Tammy Pierce. She was very distraught when she talked to me. And this has been since 2016, and she still lives this. So if somebody knows anything, please contact us. It will be anonymous, and you will get paid. It's upon arrest, not upon conviction. So it doesn't have to go to court. They just have to be arrested.
And look, if you've got an old case or a case that's not in this book that you'd like to call and share the information with us so that we can kind of reach out to law enforcement, kind of coordinate and get some more information on, please reach out to us.
Absolutely.
I know we don't have every cold case from Nash, Edgecombe, Wilson, and that may be the case. If you know about a case that's a cold case that needs to be revisited, please reach out to us and let us try to help you, bring some attention to that case.
Absolutely. Yes. Okay. I want to go back to
Tony Wilkins. Tony Wilkins. This is a Rocky Mount case from June 30th, 2010, around 9:10 a.m. Rocky Mount Police. Let's see, is this the one that that's the one we just did.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
George Thomas Harrison. July 9th, 2010. George Thomas Harrison, 77 years old at the time, was found beaten in his home on Mutual Boulevard in Princeville, North Carolina, and taken to a nearby hospital where he had succumbed to his injuries. The suspect broke through a window in Harrison's home and attacked him around 6:05 a.m., another home invasion. He was found not too long after the attack and taken to Pitt Memorial Hospital, where he died around 10:30 a.m. He was found with 10 cents in his pocket and still wearing a watch and a ring. So that discounts robbery.
Yeah. I mean, 77 years old, I can't imagine who would do this to somebody 77 years old. Mutual Boulevard, that's one of the main little streets that goes into Princeville. So, you know, like you said, he still had on his ring, his watch, and to kill somebody with 10 cents in their pocket is pretty bad. So I don't think it was robbery, but we don't know the motive. We have no idea, but if you know anything, please come forward. Anybody in Tarboro know anything? Princeville, Canita, anybody in that area? If you knew Mr. Harrison, or you know who did this, because somebody knows.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And you know, this goes back to what me and you were talking about earlier. I mean, 77 years old, he could have been pointed as a target from working in his yard, being alone.
Right.
And someone was like, hey, easy prey, easy target.
Exactly.
I'm going to slide in his home at 6:05 in the morning, and, you know, I may rob him. I may try to. He may have put up a fight. He may have put up resistance. And they didn't have opportunity to rob him.
Right.
So they fled in a hurry. It's just a bad situation. George Thomas Harrison, 77 years old, killed in a home invasion.
For nothing.
For nothing.
Nothing. That's sad. Just really sad. Well, the next one, we just don't have anything, but we'll just mention the name.
Yeah. Terrell Antoine Gray. Terrell Antoine Gray. This case is from October 9th, 2010. Terrell Gray was shot outside of a store at 540 Raleigh Road in Rocky Mount. And that's literally all we have. Terrell Antoine Gray, October 9th, 2010, shot outside of a store, 540 Raleigh Road in Rocky Mount, North Carolina.
That's all we know.
This is a case that's kind of high profile at times. I mean, we've talked about Sammy.
Rocky Mount has talked about this numerous times.
Rafiq Sufan, otherwise known as Sammy. This case is from March 8th, 2011. Sammy was killed outside of a store at the 1100 block of Old Wilson Road in Rocky Mount. He was leaving the store around 12:51 a.m. when he was killed in the parking lot. Rocky Mount police state that it was an attempted robbery. Sammy had a large amount of bills still in his pocket when police arrived. He had roughly 91s, 18.5s, 220s, and 350s. I think they're believing that attempted robbery was probably a suspect, suspect of it, and they think he may have put up resistance. You know, he tried to fight back.
Right.
And he was shot and killed as a result.
Well, you know, they probably knew if he kept a wad of money in his pocket, they probably knew that he had cash. And but he still had the money. He still had the money.
But a lot of times if you fight back, and like I teach in concealed carry, if somebody's coming up to you, in a split second, touch that person. Because when you touch them, they don't see you coming. They stop what they're doing to process the thought, why are you touching me?
Right.
But he put up resistance. He put up resistance. It spooked them, and they ran off. That's what happened. And again, he probably had a routine. Like I was saying earlier about people keeping up with my work schedule. He had a routine. Bad guys were watching him, and it caught up with him.
Well, now, it was believed by one of the investigators that came up here said that they believe that one of the suspects was hurt or by Rafiq and ran off injured. I don't know, but that was mentioned in this case. So he did fight back. It was no doubt in their mind that he did fight back. And I guess the fact that he still had the money, so knew that he did fight back. But anyway, okay, we'll resume our cases next week. Thank you for watching the K-Files. Thank you, JP. And we will see you next week.